Greetings and welcome to another excellent World of Tanks video. This is really an oddball video, and you'll understand why as we go through this. Because this is a review of the brand new Era 3 light tank. The one that's basically just like the Stormer, only not as good. So, I mean, it's cool in a lot of different ways, which is really bizarre. But can I recommend this tank to you? And I'm going to do the shocker and tell you right up front, no, I can't recommend this tank to you. But the reason why is because it encapsulates basically everything wrong with this game. All in one tank. This covers everything, really. So I hope you'll enjoy this video and learn something from it. Hopefully you haven't bought this tank yet, because if you haven't bought it, after you finish this video, you're not going to buy it. And it's going to be pretty blatant why. It would help if you could tell your friends, that way they could learn about this and also have their eyes opened about what's wrong with this tank and indirectly what's wrong with this game. It would help if you could leave a like for it as well. That would help spread the word and hopefully give other players a chance to see this video as soon as it gets enough likes, you know, to be spread around by the YouTube algorithm. So let's get to the business, shall we? So this dude has a lot of great individual things going for it, which is why it's really bizarre. Let's get on this and I'll show you. So let's look at this dude here. Alright. You know, a lot of accurate, you know, stats on this tank, and it's really bizarre. Let's look at this right here. What do we have? Reload time for the chain gun, 9.5 seconds. Reload time for the rockets, 26 seconds. That's fine if the reload isn't a problem. Turret accuracy rotation, turret rotation, 63 plus degrees per second, which is amazing, and that's without any rapid aim or gasoline. There's no bonus rotation. This is just native rotation. The accuracy during rotation, 0.52, very good. You know, accuracy during motion is just a little over 2 meters off center, also solid. This thing has all kinds of good stuff going for it. 60% silver bonus, you know, 15% commander bonus. That's fine. But let's look at this dude and see. Now, one of the things that you'll find about this tank, the armor is trash. But it's a light tank, so you know you're not expecting the armor to be great. But let's just take a look at it. Come on, dude. Light blue, 51. This is your top armor right there. After that, it's 45. So the problem that this tank has, as great as it handles and as great as it shoots, etc., etc., the armor is complete trash. It's trash. So what does that mean? Well, it means something really wild. This tank drives great, it handles great, gun shoots fine, all that stuff is great. But there's one thing that I always tell my boys about these tanks. You know, such and such a tank is this thing, or such and such a tank is not this thing. And the thing that we're talking about, or that I talk about, is what I call a difference maker. Players can be difference makers. Tanks can be difference makers. Sometimes difference maker players are playing difference maker tanks. That's when you got problems for the other team because you're a butt kicker in a butt kicking tank. All right? Give you an example. Bernie is a butt kicker, difference maker player. When he plays the Malat, it's a difference maker tank. So he's a monster. When you put a difference maker player in a difference maker tank, you're going to have problems for the other guys. Another guy you've seen around here a lot, Brownie. Another difference maker, butt kicking player. And he usually selects difference maker tanks. I posted that video of his where he was in the Centauro. Now, that's a tank I don't really necessarily consider a difference-making tank. And he still made a difference, was MVP in a Tier 10 match with an 8-kill Radley Walters performance. It's more him than the tank. The tank is a solid tank. But it's not a difference maker for random players, okay? And so this is the thing. The question you have to ask yourself is, well, number one, am I a difference maker player? Not me personally, but you personally. Are you a difference maker player? You're gonna be a difference maker in some tanks or some types of tanks, and not a difference maker in other types. Okay. So that's one separate question. Then the other question is, well, is this tank a difference maker? Well, this tank is a gigantic no. It's not a difference maker. This tank requires helpful teammates. If your team is trash, you have no chance of scoring and pulling a game out. It's just not possible. The armor on this tank is too lame. Now, this tank is fun to play as long as you don't care about winning. And that's the irony. It's a great tank to play if you're not concerned about winning. As soon as you're concerned about winning, you're going to realize this tank is trash. It's absolute garbage. If you've bought it and are seeing this, I'm sorry. I haven't had a chance to make this video because I haven't had good games. And when I say good games, I mean games that accurately describe or demonstrate what I'm describing to you. That's the key. I don't recommend this tank. I mean, if it's free, it's okay. But again, you don't even really want it if it's free. You can't win games. My win record in this tank is awful. It's not my fault. You have to have a better than average team because this tank has a lower than average performance. It stinks. You can't kill anybody because you can't live long enough to kill them. Because in Era 3, they're all stronger than you. And that's the problem. You're basically one of the bottom of the barrel tanks. This tank is very similar to the Stormer-30. But the Stormer-30 is better than this tank. This tank doesn't go fast enough to make a difference as a light tank. It's too slow to be a decent light tank. This tank is only good for a roving defender. But the problem is all the tanks in Era 3 are basically better than this tank. But this tank drives awesome, shoots great, what have you, but you just don't have the capability of being an MVP ever in this tank unless you're on a really good team and you're able to, snake kills from people. So that's the thing. Do what you do well. And now it's very interesting and it's very natural for you to go, ooh, that tank looks awesome. And it's awesome in the fun factor of playing. It's just not awesome in the winning. And I have to just keep pounding on the winning. Oh, there's another thing that Bernie said that was so fantastic about this tank. Bernie's description of this tank is the best description I've ever heard of any tank because it completely nails it. This tank is a hyena. It's not a lion. It's not an apex predator. It's not a cheetah. It's not a fast predator. It's a hyena. It's a, behind the shadows, sneak attack, it behaves like a hyena. It can't go out and just whip butt on anybody. But it requires all kinds of help, and you got to be kind of low down and dirty to get those kills. It's a hyena, and Bernie's a genius with that observation and analysis. It's garbage. You don't want this tank. And I have 2 great games that are going to demonstrate this concisely and very efficiently. And that's the key. I wish this tank was better. It's not fast enough to hunt guys down, really. You can't evade anybody. It's one of those things, it's middle of the pack with the speed. It's low end on the armor. The damage it does is okay, but it's not that great, and you're going to see that in the games that I played. Now, you could look at this video and go, I don't like the way you played this tank. Well, that's fair. That's not a problem. And you could be someone who's really got the tuning on this tank, and that is another key feature. So not only do you have to ask yourself, are you a difference maker? Is the tank a difference maker, number 2? But number 3, are you tuned in to the rhythm of this tank? And once you're tuned in to the rhythm of a tank, you can take objectively inferior tanks and win with them. Because there's no substitute for being within perfect synchronicity with your tank. It's a huge thing, and you'll never hear anybody else really talk about it. So I don't have the rhythm 100% on this tank. I'm not going to lie to you and say that I do have that. That's why what I'm telling you is really good. But the second game, I had a great game in this tank, and you're going to see, well, that's great. That's not good enough. When I have great games in other tanks, the scores are way better than what you're going to see. And that's really what it boils down to. So let's go check out those games and see what happens, because you're going to get 2 great lessons here on just why this tank really isn't worth owning. Welcome to Pearl River. All right. Now the thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy to the middle of the map and see what we can do. Because that is the ideal spot to whip butt on this map. And this is the kind of tank that could do well on this map if you can get to the center and set up for business. Alright, first thing, I always go over here, check and see if there's anybody hanging back at their base on their spawn, and the answer is negative. Got plenty of guys here on the northeast side, but no targets to be hit, unfortunately. So I want to look on the left side, which is the western side, G1, F1, etc. So quite a few guys over there. Over here, as you can see, E and F1, but no targets that I can hit. So that's unfortunate. None available, let's put it that way. This is the type of configuration by the enemy that would give you the freedom to shoot multiple targets, etc., and potentially do quite well on this map. So there's a guy on the left, as you can see, right there. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have a shot on him yet. And I'm not going to get one either. Very bogus. We're getting annihilated. We're down 5 tanks. So this is another example. My team isn't any good at all. I've literally had no shot opportunities. My armor's trash. I can't just roll up on the guy. I can roll up on this guy. He's engaged. So this makes me a roving defender like I mentioned earlier. Shooting this guy with the Bofors cannon, which is a good gun. It's a fun gun to play. That guy I annihilated, BMP3. Hooray, we're only down 3 guys now. This tank just is not a difference-making tank. It just isn't. That's just the reality. So once you have this standard that you have to try and meet, and it's going to change from tank to tank. But once you're aware of the concept of being a difference maker tank allows you to score and, you know, bring teams out of bad situations, etc., etc. Shot him and drilled him hardcore. And this is exactly the reason why this tank is not any good. It's difficult to finish this dude off. Bernie killed him, which was fantastic. There's a weasel, and I'm going to drill this weasel. Smoking like a freak. I'm drilling this guy hardcore. And this is the problem. I mean, I'm right there drilling him, and he just rolls away. It's like nothing has happened. It's ridiculous. There's another guy. I was the last guy left, and that's the number one problem with this tank. It's just weak. You can't kill anybody for all practical purposes. Alright, so my horrible team lost. So here is the end of game screen, and this is really a great example of why this tank stinks as far as the winning is concerned. Hey, if you're not interested in winning, that game was an exciting game, fun to play, etc. But we weren't close to winning because my team wasn't any good, and this tank has no capability with which I can use it to compensate for terrible teammates. So, I mean, I'm doomed in that regard. Made a kill. Should have made more than 1 kill. Should have been 2, maybe 3, depending. But, you know, now maybe that is affected slightly by my imperfect groove. I'm not matching the groove of this tank for sure. That makes a difference. So maybe I would have gotten 3 kills. We still would have lost because it was like 8 when I got killed. There was 8 guys left. My team was just trash. Sorry, it just was. Got 4,000 plus damage. That was fine. Got a handful of minor medals. Nothing special. Got a long haul. You know, but nothing special was going on in this tank. Now, the next game I'm going to show you is a different kind of game that once again is going to really sum up what's going on in this tank. Welcome to Kalbang. Okie dokie, and now we're in business. So we're going to go ahead, Bernie and myself, over here to the ancient towers. And we're going to have a lot of guys over there too, which is helpful. Now in this game, we had a much better team. And so you saw in the last game how a bad team makes this tank, intolerable. And in this case, you're going to see the perfect storm is what I call this. I couldn't imagine a better game to demonstrate the flaws in this tank. These guys are rolling up. I'm ready with my rock. Don't really have a good shot up here. Now, for those of you who haven't played this tank has a 2-rocket magazine, as well as a magazine for the chain gun. The chain gun has about 14 shots. So Bernie is over here, and I'm coming over here to help him, and we're going to rake it in. Now, we got a bunch of guys on this guy, and this is a problem. This guy takes forever to kill, and it's ridiculous. And he doesn't have anything special in the armor department, really. We've got this guy under lock and key. If these tanks were actually good, he'd already be dead. That's the problem. Bernie and I are running the same tank, and the two of us can't kill him. Bernie's dead already. That's just unbelievable. Look at this guy. I can't finish him. It's ridiculous. When you have a tank, so you can't, well, you know, you're objectively not able to finish him. It's not like I'm a beginner or an idiot. Couldn't finish that guy. It was ridiculous. I'm drilling this guy. I finished him. So there you go. I killed that guy. And that was great. And my team is good. And we're going to win this match because they're good. These are good players. They're trying to help other players on the team. They're not playing jerk, style. That's great. I got killed legitimately by the M60AX because, well, his armor's way better than mine. My armor is trash. That's why this tank is worthless. It's literally worthless. It's fun to play, but if you want to win a game, brother, this tank is the biggest chump tank you could ever get, and it costs a fortune. If anybody tells you this tank is the tank you need to buy, they're a liar, or they think you're an idiot or something. There's something wrong, I'm telling you. Oh my God, who's killing the guys? 292 Magog 7C. Okay, let's go try to find that. Magog 7C, this guy's tearing it up. Maybe we'll get some action here. When Bernie and I finished this game, I told him this is the greatest game I could have imagined. It sums up exactly why this tank is worthless. Even though we win the game. I made a kill. I was in on the butchery of that other guy as well. And they got one guy left. It won't take too long. Man, look at this guy's damage. He needs gold repairs, and he doesn't have gold repairs. But he did a great job. No question about it. Luckily for us, Bernie and myself, that this guy did a fantastic job in this game. And I'm all for it. I'm not complaining because I wasn't a superstar in that tank. That's not the point. The point is to play well and have a chance to win, which of course we did. But I'm nowhere close to a long haul. And it was just pathetically wrong in every regard. Yes, we have this in the bag. I don't remember. I guess. Oh, there he is. Yes, he had that tank that I was using. Let's see what he did. That was gotcha. All right, here is the breakdown of the game that you just saw. 1 kill, 3,200 damage. That's solid, not bad. 4,000 commander points, nothing spectacular. 31,000 silver, again, nothing spectacular. And there's an important thing I'm going to teach you about these tanks that will help you make evaluations that other players can't make the evaluation properly. Check out the medals. Fire and forget. Damage more enemy vehicles, at least 3, with missiles than anybody else in the battle. Well, I did that, which was fantastic. It's fine in that regard. It does damage. It's just not a killing tank, but it will do damage. Scoreboard. Well, I'm not anywhere close. 9th place. Yeah, whatever, dude. But that was a fun match. But that match is the epitome of why this tank is no good. This tank is horrible at killing things. It's just not that good. It's fun to play. But, like I said, if you want to win, you don't want this tank. And here's the secret. This is the secret. In fact, it was really funny because I used this explanation to Brownie yesterday, which was Wednesday. I'm recording this on Thursday night, and it'll be published Friday. So on Wednesday, Brownie asked me about this tank, and I said, well, it's a good thing that you asked this question, and as a good player, I'm going to explain this to you in a way that will simplify this for you even more than anybody else. And I told him the things I've already told you guys, but there's one other thing I haven't told you yet, which I used to tell Brownie. And I said, the thing is that Brownie, you're such a good player with all different tanks, it's crazy. And you're a difference maker player at all levels, in all types of tanks, in every era, every tier, what have you. So for him, it's super easy. I go, let's take an example, one of the tanks you play. In fact, let's take a specific example from this tank. This tank is an Era 3 tank. So, Brownie, I said, you have multiple difference maker tanks in Era 3. He was like, yeah, he recognized that was true. I go, and the problem that this tank has, it's fun. Bernie himself said he would be good in this tank. And I agree, of course, because he would be. But the problem is, he's a difference maker as a player, as a difference maker in a bunch of, he has difference maker tanks. Those tanks for him, right off the top of my head, were the Weasel, the AMX-40, and he's a very, very good Stormer-30 player as well. And the problem with this tank, I said, this is a scenario, and there's a reason I don't play other tanks at whatever different levels, because they fit the same scenario. As a difference maker player who has multiple difference maker tanks, this tank is a waste of Brownie's skill. Objectively. Now, he plays whatever he wants. We don't tell him what to play. That's not our role. When he plays with us, it's like, we're going to play, what are we going to play? We figure it out. One guy says, I need to work on this contract. I go, okay, let's go do it. That doesn't matter to me. But we're not the boss of anyone around here. So you can remove that from the scenario. But he's so good at difference maker tanks. For example, we're going to use the AMX-40. He's a phenomenal player in that tank. And it's like, well, I go, the problem is, there's no way, when I told Brownie, that you will score in this tank anything like you're going to score in your AMX-40, for example. I said, or your Weasel. Now, those are all going to have different parameters, but you're not going to be as effective in his other difference maker tanks. I mean, he'll be more effective in the difference maker tanks that he plays than this tank, because this tank is not a difference maker. And some guys have had great scoring games in this tank, and there's nothing that says they can't do that. It's not reliable. That's the key. It requires you to have a good team on your, that you're playing with, like the team that you just saw. We had Bernie agreed with me that battle we had up there was great. Fighting that guy where all the smoke was, etc., etc. It was fantastic. We had a bunch of guys helping us. It was a great team effort. I really enjoyed that because I have not had a team effort game like that in quite some time. But that tank is trash. Bernie got annihilated. I also ended up getting killed, but I did a little bit better. But it was a fun combat and fun match, etc. It was great. We won the match. That was fine. Didn't make a long haul, which was disappointing because I had a fun match there. But you have this match that I played. It's like, okay, great, fantastic, fun. It was super fun, and we won. Great. Didn't get a long haul. If I have a match that enjoyable and I don't get a long haul, no, I ain't playing this tank, bro. It's just not happening. It's stupid. I can have games with less fun than I had in that tank and still make long hauls. Okay. So this is the thing. Now, everyone's different. Your criteria for is it, quote, worthwhile, unquote, to you is going to be different than mine, and there's nothing wrong with that. This tank cost a fortune. It's super overpriced. It's not that good. It just isn't. So that's the thing. I'm very disappointed with the fact that this tank is a worthless tank for winning. If you win, it's because you had a good team. It wasn't really because of you. Or, well, I'm saying that conceptually. I could be wrong as far as you're concerned. It's a possibility. So for myself, I will say, it's when I'm concerned myself with winning, this tank doesn't get it. I mean, when I first played this with Bernie, after we quit, I went and played a Weasel match like that. Long haul, difference maker, butt kicker. Just like that. And it was just fantastic. That's the difference. Now, everyone's different. It might be great for you. It's a good, fun tank to play. And if you have, like I said, if you have the groove that matches this tank and what it needs, you can't buy that skill. It's fantastic. I don't have that. I'm probably never going to get it. But it's really bizarre because it drives great. Handles perfectly. I thought it was all fair. The armor is trash. We saw that. Okay. But outside of that armor being trash, it should be more effective. The gun works great. Fun gun to play with. The sound of the gun, as Bernie pointed out, is phenomenal. It's really terrific. It's just that it's not a reliable winning tank. For me. Might be different for you, but it cost a fortune. And in good conscience, I cannot recommend this tank being bought by anyone. And it represents the things that are wrong with this game. It looks great, but there's something hidden wrong with it. This is just not. It doesn't fit the recipe of a winning tank, as far as I'm concerned. Your opinion is going to be different. Fine, it doesn't bother me a bit. If you like it or dislike it, doesn't matter. I mean, if you bought this tank or decided to buy it, I would hope that you would enjoy it. The thing I don't want to do is make this review say I don't care for this tank, I cannot recommend this tank, even though it is fun to play. Because you're just not going to win in this tank. And if someone goes, well, you know, I didn't listen to you, I bought it and I hate it, and I wish I would have listened to you, I hope that I never read a comment like that. I would recommend getting, if you want a tank like this, and you want one that can win, the Stormer is what I would recommend. And the reason why the Stormer is better is smaller and faster. Now this guy, let me show you. Right now I have smoke, and that's how I'm going to roll with this tank. But we're going to max the speed out on this tank. Well, mostly. This will pick up. Now, I got rid of, I did something in this tank. Bernie and I had a discussion, and it's worked before with other tanks, which is why, you know, I did the same thing he did. You can't get into close combat and expect to survive, which is what did happen in that last game, and it worked out great. I had a great time in that match. Bernie was like, should we try doing the zoom sniping? And I said, yes, of course, that would be better. And I had a lot of success with other zoom snipers, so I also switched to zoom sniping. All right. And when I did that, when I switched to zoom sniping, I took out my powertrain and put the scope in there. But the maximum speed when I had the powertrain and the gasoline and the traction is 84. Now let me show you the Stormer-30. Stormer-30, a little bit smaller tank. This does not have the max speed. This one will go 92 as it's set, but it will go like 98. It'll go 98, 99 with maximum speed if you add the gasoline. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do it right now. So it's not going to be, I'm not going to use my memory of it. I'll just see it. I don't remember 100%. Gasoline, 97. All right, this dude will do 97 with maximum speed. And this dude is a tiny tank, not as tiny as the Weasel, but it goes about almost exactly the same speed as the Weasel maxed out. 97, it's fantastic. Now this gun doesn't do as much damage as the Bofors cannon. It doesn't sound as cool, but it's really good. And I think this is a fun tank to play as well. This one I do recommend for the fun factor, and you can win matches. Because like the other one, the Swedish tank, this has a twin rocket magazine, and you have the magazine for your chain gun. You know, which is fantastic. So in the head-to-head comparison, for me, now, I'm a difference maker player. This is a difference maker tank for me, but the key thing is my groove with this tank is very good. It's not perfect, but it's close. It's way better than that Swedish tank. And so that's the thing. This is a better tank for me than that Swedish tank. A little bit less expensive. This is still an expensive tank. It's like 14,000 gold. The other one's 15,000 gold. But it's that groove factor that really can separate the men from the boys. So I wanted to give you an idea of all the attributes. I don't recommend you buy any of these tanks. They're too expensive, really. They're not that great of a deal. If you want to get it for some reason, it's up to you, of course. Wait till the half price, on a sale. That's the ideal time to get it. But that's a suggestion. I'm not your boss. I'm just trying to give you helpful advice. So if you've played the Stormer and you don't like it, well, you're probably not going to like that Swedish tank, but you might. I don't know. It's hard to say. I just don't recommend it because it just doesn't do the job. You're just not going to win. My record in that tank is just awful. Let's take a look at this dude here. There we go. There we go. This dude is horrible. Wow. I win 1 out of 3 games. Hilarious. So that's terrible. Played 12, won 4. That's garbage. Gun sounds just fantastic. But this tank is no good. You know, the things to do in Era 3. You know, stick with the ones you get. If you've got the 292 or the Topol 490, the season ultimate tanks, ultimate season pass tanks, those are great. You know, I have the M60AX. That's a phenomenal tank. I enjoy that one. And I'm not a medium tank expert, but I have the groove with that tank, and that is the key. Even though that's the type of tank I normally am an expert in, I've got the groove with the M60AX. It works great for me. So that's the thing. So again, I have to be the bearer of bad news. I don't think this tank is that good because it's just not a winner. And hey, if you like to lose matches, hey man, rock and roll. This is where you need to be. But no. This game is hard to win games because I get garbage players on my team all the time. And if I can't play a tank where it makes a difference, I'm going to just pile up the losses because these guys are just blowing the games left and right. You've seen those games yourself when you've got idiots galore. 5 guys are dead in 2 minutes. You're like, really, dude? That's what I get all the time. So, you know, whatever, dude. It's that, you know, that's just the way this game is. The idiots are all over the place, and they're there to throw your game away. That's how I have to deal with it. So, you know, whatever. So, I mean, it makes playing these matches less fun automatically, and then when you get a tank like this one that struggles to get a win, it's a waste of time. I get idiot teams. I can't afford to have a non-difference maker tank. It's just that simple. I mean, I worked real hard to get solid in the Weasel. The Weasel is not my specific style of tank, but I learned to adapt to it. I can adapt to this tank as well, but I just don't have the time and the interest to do all that for this tank. It's not that good. You know, it's a goof-off tank. I mean, I have some other tanks that are fun to play also. They're in the similar category, like BMP3. That's a solid tank. But it's not a super butt kicker. But, you know, it can make some kills. It can do pretty good. You know, it just comes and goes. So that's my review. It's not that good. All those high gold tanks, they're not really that good as a general rule. The Weasel's a butt kicker if you're good at rocket tanks. And if you don't have the rocket mojo, forget about it. So hope this helps you guys out. It would be helpful to me if you could spread the word to your friends, let them check this out, learn about this tank, and then maybe they'll leave a like or a subscribe, whatever. But I don't recommend high gold value tanks. You're going to be disappointed almost every time, really. Now, there are some that are really good, like MBT-70. That's a really good tank. I'm not good in it. I'm okay, right? It's the groove. I don't have the groove for the MBT-70, but the MBT-70 is a butt-kicking tank, as an example. If you have the groove for the MBT-70, then, dude, you will rock. Molot is another killer tank. Bernie has the groove on the Molot. So he's a one-man army in that tank. And that's the thing that I told him. You know, this tank is garbage for Bernie. And I go, the reason why, I mean, he likes it too. I mean, it's a fun tank. I said, but dude, every time you're playing this, you're not playing Molot, and you're a legitimate MVP candidate every time you pull a Molot out of the garage. That's the key. He's a legit MVP candidate in a Molot. Like every time. So that's it. So on Bernie's case, I say play the Molot. You're fantastic at that tank. Brownie is fantastic at his AMX 40 and a bunch of others as well. I'm just giving you one example. So there's the Bernie observation and analysis in a nutshell. This tank is not a lion, it's not a tiger, it's not a leopard, it's not a cheetah. It's a hyena. Wah, wah. So it was great having you guys here. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to having you guys join in another video. Hopefully one that would be more uplifting than this really confusing review of a tank that I objectively had to say is not worth getting. So I look forward to seeing you guys again. I gotta go make some other videos, but it was great having you here. Really, thanks a lot for watching. I hope I helped you out. I look forward to seeing you, and I'll see you later.